Yo, 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 yo. Dear diarrhea. Diary full of shit, just playing on me, myself, and I, and no one else. Hey, I'm so legit. I want to shout out this channel that I stumbled across. I don't want to save it in any of my folders um, because I just don't. But the name of the channel is Politicon. Politicon. And it's a guy named James Carville. And he's an old, kind of probably a Vietnam vet. I think he was in the Marines. He's got a hat and a flag in the background of one of his uh, videos. His latest one said, James Carville, Trump will be gone sooner than you think. It's his most recent one as of now. And he brought up kind of an interesting concept, where it's like everybody's in cahoots, or whatever the word is, Oh, shit, these oil companies, purposely wanting to hike up gas, and prices, I mean. And these billionaire, I want to be careful what I say, but I guess Zionists, who are like, hey, the Jewish people have every right to like exist. And it's like, am I missing something here? Why do the Jews catch so much fucking shit? I'm a little confused. Doesn't everybody have the right to exist? Is it one of those like land grab things, kind of like with Ukraine and shit, where it's like that's our land, and now Trump with Greenland and shit, and it's like I don't know. I guess I'm just ignorant, but the only reason that a person or group of people should not be allowed to exist is if they are harmful to other people. Like Stefan Molyneux said, universally preferable behavior. Doesn't matter if, you pray to Allah, Walla, 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 Bing, Bang, JC, God, because isn't that, like, they don't, I don't know, it's like, well, JC was Jewish, and it's like, I'm confused. I'm just dumb, I don't know shit. But anyway, and the Romans, they're the ones who took them out, aren't they? I've kind of been, binge watching all this Roman shit and, Spartan warriors, and I haven't really gotten into that yet, but, I was going to do that next. Yeah. And the barbarians and the Vikings and all that shit. And just how, human beings, man, don't get along. Cultures don't really mesh, And there's that. I think I had mentioned that about like if you're an immigrant, how a lot of immigrants are fleeing, their government, but they still want to keep their heritage and their culture. But just like if someone were to invite you into their house, if they ask you, or the norm is to take off your shoes, then you do that. So on the 4th of July, if I were an immigrant from wherever, I'd run the American flag. But if I was proud of my heritage and culture, if there were holidays in my country that Americans didn't celebrate, then I would go ahead and run my flag or whatever, but you don't want to be disrespectful to the host who has welcomed you into their house. Now, as far as legal versus illegal, like I said, I won the lottery. I was born male. I was born white. I was born American. And fourth, I was born to a good family. Um, you know, so and like I said, I should be more grateful and don't take things for granted. You know, don't abuse my body so much with the drinking and shit like that. And get my fucking act together. But yeah, I'm sure it's a huge headache. It probably costs a lot of time and money, honey. A bunch of paperwork. You probably need, your birth certificate and shit. And it's like if you were born in Mexico, you may have been born, in the living room and you don't have a fucking birth certificate and, shit like that. You know what I mean? So, so I think a lot of the illegal immigrants were here wanting to go the legal route, but it wasn't an option for them. And maybe they were just sort of, laying low, doing all these shit jobs, picking vegetables by hand, out in the field and shit. Why they built up money, or maybe they've given up hope for them, so they started a family and, they want their offspring, their kids, to be here legally. I don't know what the official way to do that is. Because, like I said, I won the fucking lottery. I was born a white boy, born a male boy, born American boy, and I was born into a good family boy. So, now my hate horse are like, what do you mean? Why do you guys say it like that, boy? I don't know. I just sort of said, my bad. Boy. Boy. So, you want to hear me speak Blublanix? Is that how you say that? Yeah. Hey, I watched the Hodge twins. They're brothers, literally. Not just, because they're black. And they're twin brothers. So I know all about black culture. Anyway. Conservative twins, whatever. They've got a few different channels. But anyway, Stefan Molyneux, the phrase universally preferable behavior. So, regardless of if you're religious, spiritual, whatever, universally preferable behavior. You don't get to steal from me. You don't get to lie, cheat, steal, cause me harm or damage, So, but other than that, can't we all just get along? No. Human beings have never gotten along. So anyway, that's kind of my roundabout digress, so anyway, these billionaires, who donate all this money and shit, because I do believe that's a real thing, these super powerful elite people who are worth billions, multi-billions of dollars. I do believe that the world is kind of their playground or their oyster, and they do, It's just like that movie War Dogs, just like this guy James, I forget his last name, James Peppercorn. Prostitution was the first profession, and then war was the second, profession. So, just kind of makes you wonder, and how, we really don't have any business. It doesn't benefit the U.S., going to war with Iran, but they were kind of, didn't have a choice because, Israel dragged them in. But then there is the fact that, Iran is like a terrorist state, basically. I do think that if they had nuclear powers, it's like the Dr. Seuss, bitter butter battle book, a timeless classic. I think they'd use it on each other, absolutely. And then allies get involved, and then you've got World War. So I'm just sort of kind of getting up to speed on this stuff. And of course, AI, and who knows what's real and what's not. Did we really just lose, 200 soldiers? It's from India Times. Keyword being India. No, you can't have my fucking bank routing number, and I won't kindly do this, and I won't kindly do that. So, and these people, they're just like children, man. I mean, this James, Peppersnoof, he's funny, and like I said, I don't have an allegiance to anybody. I have voted Republican, and I have also voted Democrat. So I don't, it's the lesser of, evils as far as I'm concerned. All politicians are pieces of shit. So it wouldn't hurt my feelings, like this James guy. The Democrats are going to get back in. Fuck it, whoever, man. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter to me. But I'm listening to all these whack jobs. They're just such children. Their arguments are just absolute garbage. You don't even know how to spell the word diabolical, and this is our commander in chief. He's cognitively stupid. It's like, shit, man. Because he misspoke. He said something like, there's people walking around who got their legs blown off. And this guy was like, he misspoke. These are literally arguments that a grade schooler would make. You can't even pronounce the word, dumb. It's just, they're making themselves look like a bunch of jackasses. So, and like I said, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just an NPC. I just want to go down to 7-Eleven, buy a Slurpee for under $10 and a gallon of gas for preferably under $3. But it'll be a while before we get back to that. But and I don't want my milk to cost $10 either. So, and I want to have shit on the shelves. So. Yeah, I just want my comfortable life. Overpaid, underburdened, oversexed. What was the thing? I thought of this myself. I had a phrase: overpaid, underworked, oversexed, and underburdened. America, right? And I'm just, we did our thing, but I'm not one of these people who hates America. I don't want it to sound like that. Not at all. Far from it. I think this is the greatest country in the world, and it's worth fighting for and defending and and all that shit. So now we're over, in Iran doing this shit, and it's like, what's the real story? Who knows? It might be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I don't know, man. But I don't think it's legit. I don't think we have really any business being over there. Well, like I said, the whole nuclear weapon thing. Okay, fine, I get that. But I think it's more than that. And like I said, this whole deal with Israel, these fuckers, creaming their pants, jacking off to the idea of, the end times. And like I said, to be a part of that, oh, the rapture, oh, it's going to happen on my watch during my lifetime. Come here, little Billy and little Susie Q, ages 4 and 7. You're going to get to experience some really epic shit. Whoa! You pieces of fucking shit. Fuck you. Calm down. I just want my Slurpee. When it happens, if it happens, whatever, it happens. You don't need to usher it in, you piece of shit. So, anyway. So, I don't know. But when it's like, when you start dealing with like holy wars, the conviction or whatever the word is, because it's like it's religion, so it's like, it's unshakable, for a lot of people. So it's like a blood feud, times 50. Hatfields and McCoys, Israel and Iran, It's just whatever. And like I said, I'm pretty ignorant. I don't even actually know the story about it, So, I don't know. I guess I should get up to speed on it. That way I know. Yeah. I guess that's all I gotta say, baby. Hey, man, how come I got so many views on that video where the Gweed, and his sweet, sweet little wife, Mrs. Butthead. Ma met a girl. She's gonna give you grandbabies. And they're gonna look exactly like Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. See the ears? See the resemblance? Her ears are the only thing she's got going for her. I think they're actually kind of cute. And like I said, there's this broad who works at Subway, They stick out and they curve forward. This Butthead's ears don't curve forward. They're just like take a Ritz cracker, break it in half, put one on either side of her head. So, give her a couple candy corns for front teeth. An ass for her face. 2 watermelons for ass cheeks. And a genetically modified, steroid injected, bull shank, for thighs, whatever shank is. And you got Mrs. Butthead. Oh yeah, and the glasses, they're magnified to the point, her prescription or whatever, make her eyes look like they're painted on. It's weird. She is really a goofball. So, but that's one of those things, just every now and then those videos take off. Doesn't even hardly make sense. It's like there's not even any context, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's, just like 5 people just watching them, every day. I don't know. So, because like I said, dear online family and friends. But anyway, go check that guy out if you want to. Like I said, he's an anti-Trumper. But, like I said, I'm not necessarily for or against Trump, If it turns out he's a fucking criminal, and this, that, and the other, then fuck you. Eat shit. I think, Kamala Harris would have been a disaster. But, they're all pieces of shit. They're all scum. They're all criminals. Like inflation, that's done on purpose. They print that money, they take half of it, and they just raise taxes. Like I said, they're billionaires, billions with a B. They've got more money than they could spend in a lifetime and all their family members. And they're fleecing, the economy and the American people. Who are just trying to buy gas and groceries. Maybe save for retirement and, a few luxuries here and there. They're fucking scum. Every fucking last one of them. Absolute scum. That motherfucker who, took a picture of himself or had somebody take a picture of him with the raw hamburger patty on the grill, and he had the cheese on it while it was still raw. That shows you how disconnected these pieces of shit are. Like, even if you've never made a cheeseburger in your life, you should be able to figure it out. That's not how that works. That's not how the end result of a cheeseburger comes to be into existence. That's not the process. Anyway.